Hi, and welcome to this live reading from Moves by John Michaels, and this is hosted by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Forward, April 10, 2003. Breaking news. Apparently, the U.S. Central Command in Iraq has only scratched the tip of the iceberg in their investigation into the discovery of a huge amount of cash that may have been abandoned by fleeing regime leaders. Huge would actually be a gross understatement. Representative Henry Waxman of California. Who in their right mind would send 363 tons of cash into a war zone? Troops first discovered 100 million in U.S. currency along with 90 million euros in 31 containers. Following that, they located a deep vault over 8,800 square feet in size which held blocks of cash from floor to ceiling. Sources say the total could run to 700 billion. That's billion with a B. Last week, U.S. troops found more than $650 million in the same area of Baghdad. Authorities say the funds will remain secure until a stable government is established in Iraq and will ultimately be returned to the Iraqis to assist in the rebuilding of their nation. In a related tragedy, 18 U.S. soldiers were killed when a convoy they were escorting came under attack by insurgents. The convoy was moving part of the recovered money cache to a secure location. It has come as no surprise that a sizable amount of that shipment has gone missing. CIA Urgent, Iraq Central Command, Eyes Only, Verwick. David. Money count was completed before shipment. Total 960 million. Confirm 18 U.S. killed, 8 survivors. Commander Robert Jake in critical condition, now in transit to Germany. He is not expected to survive. Of total shipment, 430 million. 430 million is confirmed missing and presumed stolen. This had to be an inside operation with Iraqi involvement. There is no sign of any of the missing money. Updates as necessary. Falcon. Chapter 1. Demon Stark had been waiting for this day for years. When it was over, he had stopped waiting. The 911 calls began 30 minutes after the bars closed. A Mercedes had raked 50 feet of guardrail on Stemmons Freeway coming out of downtown Dallas. As if someone had tapped a computer delete key, the vehicle disappeared. It reappeared 10 minutes later in a confetti storm of irate motorists. The vehicle had used another guardrail like a pool table cushion, bouncing across several lanes of traffic in an effort to make it into the side pocket, in this case, an exit off the LBJ freeway. The maneuver worked to perfection with a few side effects, forcing 2 cars to visit the same guardrail and running a third into a bridge abutment, and then another tap of the delete key. The driver didn't quite make the driveway to his house, but in light of the amount of alcohol consumed during the previous 6 hours, should have been given kudos for effort rendered. Using his neighbor's drive for an entrance ramp, he cut diagonally across the front yard, tires spinning, carving huge ruts in the freshly watered lawn. A witness across the street leaned against a live oak tree and watched the spectacle. Stark somehow managed to maneuver his previously untarnished Mercedes into his own drive, stopping only when the car crashed against the garage door. The following few minutes became a comedy, even for the witness who could not help but laugh at the movie playing out on the big screen across the street. Stark fumbled with the remote keypad clipped to his visor, cursed, gave up. Throwing the transmission into park, he killed the engine, then spent 15 seconds getting his seatbelt unhooked, another 20 to find the door latch. Sweating, breathing heavily, throwing expletives into the air, he pushed the door open and fought his way out of the car. In the moisture-saturated night air, with an early morning fog rolling in, he reeled up against the front fender, then fell face down on the concrete driveway, his hands cushioning the blow at the last split second, but not before he broke his nose. Stunned and bloodied, Stark began to crawl on all 4s around the front of the car. In moments, he was entangled between the sagging garage door, clawing his shirt with jagged splinters of wood, and his car's front bumper. Extraction would have been easy for the sober, but his mind was in no condition to offer assistance. From somewhere in the liquor-drenched fog, a voice meandered into his ear. Pathetic. I'm guessing you've been celebrating. I'm guessing money had something to do with it, huh? No more need to jail the slime bags. In his struggles, Stark had only managed to worsen his predicament. One side of his glasses frame had been pushed up on top of his head. His face and right shoulder were now wedged further between car bumper and garage door, bloodied shirt snagged on the front license plate. He fought to twist his head up to no avail. What was left of peripheral vision discerned a boot resting on the corner of the bumper. A shape attached to the boot leaned against the creaking garage door. Then a wave of nausea torched a path from stomach to throat, and he vomited, the explosion splattering the garage door and cascading off the bumper. The voice drifted down. Pathetic. You know, defective merchandise should be removed from the shelf. Don't you agree? Between gags, Stark's brain tried to identify the voice. Came up short. Voice was throaty, not high, not deep. Could be either gender. Probably goes both ways. Fucking pervert. He spit out blood, then a tooth, then some words. Who are you? Is that you, Mike? Mike Hamilton was the neighbor with a freshly excavated front yard. No, Mike. Want another guess? He was feeling sick again, and the pressure of the vice seemed to be worsening. He was not in any conversational mood. Go fuck yourself, whoever you are, and help me out of here. That's two options, fucking myself or helping you out. Which would you prefer? Seconds went by, and then Stark felt a hand in his pocket. He tried to twist, but only succeeded in jamming himself tighter in his personal vice. Then he heard the sound of keys rattling. He rationalized. His tormentor was a car thief. The relentless pressure from the garage door, car bumper, license plate prison forced him to retch again. Help yourself to the car, asshole. The voice was closer. A gloved hand patted his head. Don't mind if I do, Demond. Stark's vaporized mind could not put puzzle pieces together. His voice slurred to the point of sounding like a foreign language. Who are you? How do you know my name? He began to struggle again. Maybe he could wiggle through to the other side of the car. He worked his left hand free above the bumper and stuck a middle finger in the air. At least he could escape the vice he was in. A moment later, the voice was back. Your expiration date has been reached, Mr. Stark. I've got something to make the pain go away. Seconds later, a strip of duct tape was pressed hard against his mouth, followed in seconds by pressure between his legs. God, the pervert is going to do me right here. Jesus. A tsunami of pain rose from his groin, causing him to vomit again, but his taped mouth offered no outlet, and he gagged on his own discharge. Unable to scream, blood trickled from his nose and ears as his mind produced a black thundercloud in the distance against a clear sky. He heard the sound of his car starting. Then it began to inch forward. What the fuck? Stark willed the machine to stop. His tormentor flicked the headlights to bright, pressed lightly on the gas, then smiled as a fountain of blood sprouted through the beams of light. Like a sprinkler coming to life, the car bumper crushed Stark's head against the garage door, and his skull came apart like an overripe melon. The Mercedes didn't stop until the garage door ripped off its tracks, front bumper embedded in the wood. Somewhere in between the wood and the chrome, Stark's body convulsed and went silent. Stepping from the car, the killer left the door open, lights on, gear shift in drive, engine running. Then the stranger walked to the street, leaving behind a single word that slowly disassembled itself in the fog. Check. Chapter 2. The ringing in his head got louder, but he couldn't afford to turn to see where the sound was coming from. The one low-power bulb at the end of the cavernous warehouse made visibility difficult. A shape broke the dim beam. Drop the weapon! Drop it! Drop it! The response to his shout was a 9mm steel jacket slicing through his left arm, grazing bone. Reeling back against a 4x4 post and then into the side of a concrete wall, John Assisi looked down at the pencil-wide ribbon of red appearing through his shirt sleeve. At first, he felt nothing, then a deep burning. He took stock of the situation. Not good. 3-1. I'm the one. He pulled the clip from his cig and stared at the 2 remaining rounds. Fuck, where the hell is backup? Shoving the magazine back into the automatic, he unhooked his belt. He wrapped it around his arm and clenched it as tight as possible to slow down the blood loss. The ringing became even louder, this time just off to his side. He was about to turn his head when a shadow appeared next to a drill press. Bracing his gun against the 4x4, Assisi squeezed off a shot, got a grunt, then a yell. 2-1, he thought. He mentally calculated the odds of getting to the dead gun and using the asshole's own piece to buy more time. Not good. Anytime you want to show backup, that would be just okay with me. The ringing started again, this time right beside his head, but out of his peripheral vision. Who the fuck is calling a warehouse at 3 a.m.? Then a door opened and a light began to push the darkness aside. Baby, it's for you. Donnie? The voice was close. Too close. What? John, wake up. It's Donnie. He says urgent. The stink of the warehouse evaporated along with the burning in his arm. His eyes opened to a ceiling fan rotating slow enough to allow him to follow the blades. For a moment he watched, mesmerized as the dream swapped places with reality. He unconsciously reached for the belt around his arm. Nothing. John. Phone. Donnie. His wife patted the cell on his chest and rolled over, disappearing from the sight in her pillow. Assisi pushed the phone to the side of his head, voice heavy with sleep. Yeah. John, you awake? No. By the way, thanks. I just got shot and no backup. Thought I could count on you. There was silence from the other end then. What? Never mind. Talk. Stark has gone to the great courtroom in the sky. Assisi's mind hadn't quite made it out of the forest yet. What? Wait. Who? You know, that guy who hangs out in the courthouse? The shit who climbed your ass last week just because he could? Stark. His mind adjusted the lens and the image cleared. Demond Stark? Congratulations. Assisi's brain stepped off the curb into heavy traffic. Demond Stark was the longtime Dallas district attorney. Holy fuck. Where? His home. North Haven, just east of Welch Road. Donnie gave him the house number. Sure it's him? Sure he's dead? There was a long silence. Donnie? Dead might be an understatement. Best you put on your weekend grubs. Okay. Donnie, keep it clean. When the media shows, shut them down. They don't get close. Got the street blocked off? Yeah. How far back? A block. Not enough. Push the perimeter back to 2 blocks. Got it. John, crime scene is Stark's driveway. Car is running. Still in gear. Lights on. Body in front of the vehicle. You want me to shut it off? Put the car in park? Assisi thought for a moment. No, leave everything just like it is and get CSI out there. He punched the phone off and lay still for a few moments while his brain rummaged around looking for a valid reason to get up, preferably something more important than a dead body. He finally sat up, swung his legs to the floor, pulled open a nightstand drawer, grabbed a holstered Colt, wondered briefly why he had a cig in the dream. He noticed Stark's address on a sticky pad, then pulled off the small piece of paper and pushed it against his shield. His wife rolled over and put out a hand to rest against his back. Demond Stark murdered? Yeah, looks that way. Donnie says it's a mess. Assisi stood up, then bent down to retrieve a pillow relegated to the floor during his firefight. He leaned over and kissed his wife. Love you. Don't know when I'll be home. As he walked naked to the closet, a voice followed. Hey. What, baby? You are the best-looking man on the planet. Assisi turned his head and grinned. You're a little biased, Pammy. Shit, I am. Go look in the mirror and tell me you aren't a hunk. Assisi laughed. Love you, girl. Go back to sleep. Call you when I can. Hey. What? Great ass, too.